Hello, everybody. This is Joseph P. Farrell with news and views from the Nefarium on Thursday, May 18th, 2014, or pardon me, 2017. Before we get started today, I want to give a reminder to everybody. You can listen to the broadcasts on your iTunes. We would really appreciate it if you would give us some good reviews. We're trying to expand our listening base, so for those of you who like to listen on iTunes, please remember, give us a good review, pass it along, and so on. I also want to thank people for donations recently. We are, as you know, we have expanded our operation. All donations are certainly welcome. There's been a couple of people that have made donations to the website as well as to me personally, and I want to thank you immensely. The website needs it. I need it. I'm doing some expensive research right now. I've actually started writing a new book, so I wanted to send thanks to all of you that did that. Now, that brings us to today's story. I have to admit, when I first got up this morning and started getting ready to do my news and views, I was all ready to do this on another subject, and then I got this email with this article in it, and I read through it, and I thought, wow, I have to do this on this story. The story is on Zero Hedge, and I've linked the article for you up there on YouTube and on the website. The article is titled, and the title really doesn't do full justice to what's in the article, and I'm going to be reading a lot of it for you. Of course, it's by Zero Hedge's notoriously well-known Tyler Durden. And the title of the article is Deutsche Bank sued for running an international criminal organization in Italian court. There's so many things in this article. You have to parse this one carefully. And right up front, I'm gonna state that I suspect that Zero Hedge knows something more, given the way that it's phrased certain things in this article, that it has not yet disclosed. My guess is because they're still checking things out. I'm going to give you at the end of this my own high-octane speculation on what I think this means. As you're listening, I want you to kind of put in the back of your mind all of those banker and insurance managers' deaths, some very, very strange, that we've seen over the past few years. People walking in front of trains, taking nosedives off of high rises, and so on and so forth. I suspect we're being given a hint in this story. Listen carefully. Having been accused and found guilty of rigging and manipulating virtually every possible asset class, perhaps it was inevitable that Deutsche Bank, currently on trial in Milan for helping Banca Monte dei Paschi di Siena conceal losses, as first reported last October in Deutsche Bank, charged by Italy for market manipulation and creating false accounts, is now facing accusations that it was, listen carefully, and Zero Hedge has actually bold-faced for emphasis these words. It is now facing accusations that it was actually running an international criminal organization at the time. In the closely watched lawsuit, prosecutors used internal Deutsche Bank documents and emails to persuade a three-judge panel to rule that there were additional aggravating circumstances to the charges the German lender already faces related to various derivatives transactions. Now, I want to stop right there and suggest to you that the derivatives problem that we saw emerge last 2008 during the bailout hearings and then in the aftermath, the derivatives are, I should say, the problem, because they are, by last estimates that I saw, between 14 and 17 quadrillion dollars. That's several times and an order of magnitude above the entire gross domestic product of the planet. So in other words, finance capital has inflated the amount of money on in securities and paper, basically, dramatically. All right. And now I'm suggesting that there is a connection in the Italian court's mind between the creation of all these derivatives and this international criminal organization, which the Italian judges and prosecutors are saying that Deutsche Bank was either running or a part of. All right. Now, Zero Hedge is saying that Deutsche Bank is running this. All right. In other words, it's at the center of the web. Let's go on. In the closely watched lawsuit, prosecutors used internal Deutsche Bank documents and emails to persuade a three-judge panel to rule that there were additional aggravating circumstances to the charges the German lender already faces related to various derivatives transactions. As Bloomberg reported overnight, the material included a London trader's "well done" message to a banker who's now on trial. The reason why prosecutors, listen carefully to this, folks, this is so important. The reason why prosecutors are seeking expanded charges against the German banking giants, plural, giants, is that by allowing prosecutors to argue that the bank's market manipulation crimes were committed by an organization operating in several countries would lead to higher penalties if they win a conviction. Now stop and consider that. German banking giants. Well, there's Deutsche Bank, of course, and then there's Commerzbank, all right? So in other words, the Zero Hedge article is going beyond what is actually taking place in the Milanese court by implying, perhaps this is a misprint, but they're usually very careful with their words at Zero Hedge, by implying that there may be other big German banks involved in this organization. All right, now I'm going to skip a paragraph here and continue. As a reminder, Deutsche Bank and Japan's Nomura Group both went on trial in Milan last December. Excuse me here, folks. That time of year. Went on trial in Milan in December, accused of colluding with Monte Paschi to cover up losses that almost toppled the Italian lender before its current battle for survival. 13 former managers of Deutsche Bank, Nomura, and Monte dei Paschi were charged for alleged false accounting and market manipulation. Focusing on the German bank, 6 current and former managers of Deutsche Bank, including Michele Faisola, Michele Foresti, and Ivor Dunbar, were charged in Milan last year for colluding to falsify the accounts of Monte Paschi, which itself is so insolvent, it recently got its 3rd state-funded bailout and manipulate the market. As a reminder, Michele Faisola is the Deutsche Bank banker who was implicated in the death of Deutsche Bank's senior risk manager, William S. Brucksmith, who was found dead in 2014 after committing a still unexplained suicide. Going back to the accusation that Deutsche Bank, listen now to Zero Hedge's own words, going back to the accusation that Deutsche Bank is a global criminal cartel, the prosecution's request to label Deutsche Bank an international criminal association hinged on events that occurred in other parts of the globe, including the possible manipulation of an index, which isn't the subject of charges in the Milan case. Specifically, as Bloomberg previously reported, a 2014 confidential audit commissioned by German regulator BaFin said that Deutsche Bank employees may have manipulated internal indexes to help ensure the success of the deal. The study requested by BaFin said that an internal Deutsche Bank review described abnormalities in the values of proprietary indexes used to set the price for the Monte Paschi deal in December of 2008. All right, now let me go down to the final paragraph in this article. Should the judge in the Milan case find Deutsche Bank guilty of running an international criminal organization, it will be a new low for the bank, whose actions over the past several years have attracted global attention due to its criminal breach of laws and regulations in every market in which it participated. Now, Deutsche Bank, folks, is so big, that means virtually the entire world, all right? Due to its criminal breach of laws and regulations in every market in which it has participated, resulting in dramatic and periodic executive changes, as well as the non-payment of bonuses for virtually all employees in 2016, as the bank's stock briefly crashed to all-time lows last summer. Now, what do I think is going on? Well, first of all, these allegations are extraordinarily serious. Zero Hedge is using the phrase cartel. The Italian prosecutors are using the phrase international criminal organization. And the Italian lawsuit involves a large German bank, the largest German bank, and one of the largest banks in the world, a Japanese holding and securities group, Nomura, which is also a large group, and then the Banca dei Paschi di Siena in Italy, the world's oldest operating bank in continuous operation. So we have, in other words, with those three banks, an indicator of some sort of organization. Now, what does it mean? My first speculation is that if you look at this banking story vis-a-vis European domestic and EU international politics, I've been thinking and suggesting, and there's a few other people I think that quietly are thinking the same thing, that there's some sort of economic warfare going on between the United States and Germany, all right? And there's certain aspects of this story that seem to support this. The other hypothesis I have been entertaining with this story, and I'm even more suspicious that it might be the case now, is that we're looking at some sort of factional infighting within the Western financial community. And Deutsche Bank is at the hub or center of one of these factions, and I would imagine that some American and Canadian banks, possibly British banks, are at the hub of the other. What does it mean? Well, obviously it's a criminal organization, and this is now what I suspect is going to happen in Italy. This looks to me as if the Italian prosecutors have upped the ante, okay, in legal terms against the managers that are on trial and incidentally facing probably a lot of jail time. Now, in Italy, this is interesting because as far as I know, and maybe some of you good folks that live in Italy can let me know if this is true or not, but as far as I recall, the Italian legal system does not have any protections against double jeopardy. In other words, being tried for the same crime more than once, okay? Now, if that be the case, the Italian prosecutors have really now ratcheted up the pressure on these bank managers. And what I suspect they're trying to do is get them to cop a plea. In other words, you spill the beans on all of this stuff and start pointing out, as far as you know, this criminal cartel, this criminal organization, and we will negotiate a reduced sentence, all right? I suspect that that's what's in the books here. Now, the question here is if there is such a criminal organization with Deutsche Bank at the hub, as the Italian prosecutors are suggesting, then who is it? In other words, who do they represent? Now, I'm thinking of several candidates here. Mr. Globalone, you know, the international fascist mafia. There could be any number of people here involved in this, and I suspect the Italians are suspecting a great many things, that this is related somehow to the European refugee crisis, which has hit Italy and Southern Europe particularly hard. So in other words, I think the Italian prosecutors have some information, and they need confirmation. I think they're going fishing here, and they're ratcheting up the pressure. Now, what's my prediction with this story? And folks, I think this is a huge story. My prediction is you're going to see some deals made, first of all, as I've indicated, between the defendants and the Italian prosecutors. I think, secondly, you're going to see more arrests in and around Deutsche Bank and its its major trading partners. I think you're going to see more indictments coming out of this trial and new trials coming out of it. This, depending on when and how this, how this happens, this might even affect the German elections, because Germany has for years not only been dominating the European Union, but telling everybody else to clean up its financial affairs. And here's Deutsche Bank squatting right in the middle of, quote unquote, an alleged international criminal organization. Now, the other prediction I'm going to make here is I strongly suspect that this means you're going to see, and I have to say this, that this is a very sad prediction, but I strongly suspect that this means, sadly enough, that you're going to see more mysterious deaths of bankers, all right? I suspect now that all of those deaths were because they were related somehow to this idea of an organization and people found out about it. There's a banking system within the banking system, in other words, is what this is implying. And as you know, I've been arguing that case, hidden system of finance, for many, many years. The Italians are now coming out and saying it's a criminal organization, which, again, I have no doubts that it is. So this is a story to watch. I think I had to kind of drop everything and recast my entire news and views idea for the day because of this story. This is very, very significant. I don't think we're going to see the end of it. And if the Italian prosecutors are successful in beginning to pull on some of these strings, significant segments of it might begin to unravel. So that's it for today's news and views. Pardon my sinus and sneezing. Can't be helped. It's that time of year. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Remember, you can listen to News and Views on iTunes. Please give us some good reviews there. If we get 25 reviews, then it becomes a recommended site, and we'd really like that. It helps spread the news of the website and the news and views around. Anyway, that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. God bless, and we'll see you on the flip side.